Got a special Christmas edition of the DFS Deep Dive right here, right now, week 16. Let's go.
Don't just stay in the shallow end. Join us on a DFS deep dive on For Frequency's Sake. And now here are your hosts, Brian Craighead and Jordan Kearney.
Oh, great intro video as always. Like I said, Jordan Kearney here with DFS Deep Dive special edition. It's going to be airing on Sunday right before the games. Everybody say hi to Callie. She's here. As always, as soon as I come down here and sit down, she's on my lap. All right, let's roll into it. I believe a 10 or 9 game slate this Sunday. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games on Christmas Eve. So if you don't have anything better to do, or if you do everything on Christmas Day, you've got a full slate of football that you can watch. With 2 games tomorrow, Cincinnati taking on the Steelers, Buffalo Bills at the Chargers, 3:30 and 7 o'clock on those. And then Monday, Christmas Day, just like Thanksgiving, a 3-game slate. Raiders, Chiefs, Giants, Eagles, Ravens, 49ers. Probably one of the better games that you're going to watch. Could be a preview to the Super Bowl right now. But we are here for Sunday slate. We got to do it quick this week. Got to keep it under an hour. So we're going to roll through this video. We're going to start off with games target, games to fade. First game on the docket for Sunday. My Cowboys taking on the Miami Dolphins. Okay. She owns this place. Got the Cowboys at the Dolphins, over under 49.5. Miami is a 1-point favorite, as they should be, because the Cowboys look like complete and total garbage last week. I do expect to bounce back. I think that last week was kind of fluke. The Cowboys have been really good on defense all year long, except for teams that have winning records, apparently. And James Cook just had the game of his life. 200 all-purpose yards, just crushed them. Now, having Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane is one of those things to where, that could be one of those. If the Cowboys don't figure it out, they're going to be in trouble with Tyreek Hill possibly coming back. I like both sides of the game. I like it to be a little bit more competitive. The Bills' defense is a little bit better than the Dolphins' defense that we've kind of seen all year long. But I guess we're going to find out. Game number 2 that I've got on the slate, Detroit at Minnesota, over under 47.5. Detroit is minus 3.5-point favorites. Both these teams, Detroit really doesn't need the win, but just to kind of keep pace with the 1 and 2 seed here in the NFC, a win would definitely help, especially with the fact that the 49ers, this is probably one of their toughest tests. So if they get beat by Baltimore this week, Detroit's got a shot at the number 1 seed. So they really need to win. But so does Minnesota. Minnesota's kind of clinging on to that wild card spot. I think they're in the 3rd wild card spot, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, they're in the last wild card spot. They're trying to fend off the Seahawks, who are also 7-7. So they need to win just as well. Like I said, Detroit's pretty much got the division kind of locked up at this point, but Minnesota's still fighting for that playoff spot. Next game that I like but I don't like is Arizona at Chicago, over under 43.5-point total. Chicago minus 4.5 favorite here. I think it's a lot closer than the 4.5-point spread. Chicago and Cleveland kind of went to a stalemate last week. I know the defenses were a little bit different, but I like this game and I don't like this game. Both these teams are pretty well out of the playoff race. They're kind of just fighting for bragging rights at this point. Both defenses really do suck, but you never know what's going to happen. You never know how they're going to play, who they're going to play, what they're waiting to see. I know Chicago still, the jury's still out of Justin Fields. Kyler Murray will probably play the whole game just to keep his legs under him and get him some work this season. But right now, Justin Fields is one of the higher quarterbacks on the slate, which I understand. Joe Flacco, not Joe Flacco. God, who did Arizona play last week? Oh, this is where I get myself into trouble here. Yeah, Arizona played the 49ers. I mean, Brock Purdy looked amazing against them. Everybody's kind of tore up this Arizona Cardinals team. So it'd be interesting to see. I like it and I don't. Indianapolis, Atlanta, over under 44.5 point total. Atlanta, 1.5 point favorites. I don't agree with that. Give me the Colts and the points. The Colts are kind of really been the ones that have they stand out to me. They're 8-6. Gardner Minshew's look good. The team is healthy. They get Jonathan Taylor back, although they do lose Zach Moss this week. Atlanta's been pretty stingy against the run, but Gardner Minshew can do it. Michael Pittman cleared his injuries, his concussion protocol, so he's good to go. So they're going to have all their weapons. I like Indianapolis in this game, especially after Atlanta just showed their ass against Carolina last week. And then last game on the slate. So I've got conflicting reports here. So some are saying that Trevor Lawrence practiced in limited fashion, but he's still in the concussion protocol. I've got some people saying that Trevor Lawrence is out. If Trevor Lawrence is out, I'm kind of off of this game just because I don't think it stays competitive, but I do like Tampa Bay's defense. But if Trevor Lawrence plays, I actually really love this game. Baker Mayfield has been hot the last few games. He's looked really good. I don't like to chase his big game last week. And I wrote it up in the article. I don't even like to chase Chris Godwin's big week. But this could be one of those games where it's a real big back and forth. Jacksonville's fighting for the AFC South, and Tampa Bay's fighting for the NFC South. And right now, a win for Tampa Bay would really put them in the driver's seat to having a home playoff game. And Jacksonville needs the same thing right now. CJ Stroud's going to be out this week. And like I said, the Colts are right there with them. So any loss by any of these teams really loses them ground. So, but I really like that game. But like I said, we're going to have to figure out and see what's going on with Lawrence. We'll probably get that news either later tonight or tomorrow. Like I said, I haven't seen anything yet. There's nothing that's been crazy that's popped up. So we'll see what happens. Games to fade: Washington at the Jets. Zach Wilson's out this week. So it looks like Trevor Siemian, I believe, is going to start because Aaron Rodgers has been shut down. He's not even going to be the emergency quarterback. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. I do like Breece Hall. I like pieces from this game, and I know Breece Hall burned us last week, but I like Breece Hall. And Washington just is kind of like one of those things where I feel like if Sam Howell struggles, they bring in Jacoby Brissett again. So Brissett looked really good in the last couple of drives last week. Kind of gave the Rams a little bit of a scare, which I'm kind of surprised why they're not going to Brissett. They've kind of seen all they need to see from Sam Howell. They're not in the playoff race. Like, why not? Why not give Brissett a shot? I like the Jets defense a little bit. They just got pummeled by the Dolphins last week. Yeah, I was really off last week. If you're like me and you followed me, man, it was rough. I lost $100 last week. So hoping to turn it around, get it back. We've got, if you look at this slate, there's no running backs, there's no tight ends, there's no quarterbacks over the $8,000 mark, and there's only 3 or 4 wide receivers above the $8,000 mark, and 2 above the $9,000 mark. So it's a pretty cheap slate if you think about it. Last game really doesn't interest me a whole lot. Green Bay at Carolina, like I was kind of talking about last week. I think Carolina had their Super Bowl last week against Atlanta. They ended up winning that game. I think it was 9-7 or something stupid. Just a terrible game last week. But like I said, I thought so. I thought that they were going to come out and get maybe their second win, but I think that's it. I like Green Bay's defense in this one. Carolina's defense has also been really stingy. Like they're ranked different on DraftKings about how they play the run. They really play against the run. I like Aaron Jones, especially if he's back and he's going to get the same workload. He's just got to knock the dust off a little bit. But I'm kind of staying away from the game as a whole. Like, I don't like Jordan Love like I liked him last week. So it'll be interesting to see. We're kind of going to build the lineup. So I didn't do normally I do like a first look lineup, and I didn't do that just because I'm kind of torn on where I need to be at. So we're kind of going to go over it all together. We're just going to go over it and kind of plug and play. Some of the injuries that have kind of come out, we're still waiting on some news. So I'll have something out again. It won't be a ladder challenge, but everybody follow along. Hopefully we can, we've smashed 10 weeks out of the 60 or 15 weeks that we played, we've doubled up. So I'm kind of hoping that we can continue. We've got 3 weeks left. We can double up these last 3 weeks before we head into the playoffs. It'll be really nice. So with that being said, let's jump into our first commercial, and then we'll roll out with what we're going to do for lineups and go over these positions. So like I said, we've got 49 more minutes according to DJ. So we'll hurry it up.
Serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. And with over 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all of your home improvement projects. This family-owned business has you covered on all your needs. Protect your home or building from the elements today and get great roof repair services. Need new windows? No problem. Durham Remodeling can upgrade your windows and doors. Whether you want to upgrade the little details in your home or office, or want to tear a room down and start fresh, the expert contractors at Durham Remodeling have your back. Even the smallest changes can completely transform your space. Ready to start entertaining your friends for backyard barbecues? Durham Remodeling will help you plan, design, and build your deck and patio for the perfect outdoor space. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 today for your free estimate for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715.
And we're back. Durham Remodeling. Great place. If you need anything done, give them a call. Show sponsor. Fantastic. Follow along. All right, let's screen share here. Open up the free contest that I always start my weeks with, just to make sure I've got something entered. All right, starting at the top here, Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa. Both of these guys, $1 difference in salary. Tua tore up the Jets last week. Dak Prescott looked like hot garbage against the Bills. Like I said, I think this is going to be one of the better game environments. I like both of these guys, but if you've been involved in any kind of like review on tournaments all year long, it's been the $6,000 range or even below that. That's been winning tournaments. We haven't had those like had to have it scores by these guys who are priced super high. So I like them, but I'm kind of going a little bit below that. Like we talked about, Justin Fields is as of right now, he's in the top 3 of ownership. Yeah, top 3 of ownership on quarterbacks. I do like Justin Fields. I like the play. I just worry that the game could get blown out a little bit. So we'll start with Justin Fields, but we're going to continue working down here. CJ Stroud's out. Jared Goff has quietly been okay. Like I say, he's kind of erratic. It reminds me of Matthew Stafford a little bit. They have a couple big games, and then he'll have a couple mediocre games. Usually good for about 15 points. That's probably his floor most weeks. Trevor Lawrence, like I said, it's kind of conflicting. I've got a couple guys I follow, but there's nothing been official out on X or anything else. He practiced it in limited fashion, but he's still in concussion protocol. So if he doesn't go, CJ Beathard's going to start. That makes me really like the Bucs defense. So I'm just going to plug in the Bucs defense right now, because if the reports that I'm seeing are true, 2,600, this is going to be your highest owned defense on the slate, guaranteed. Jordan Love against Carolina. If you look here, Carolina is ranked first against the pass and against opposing quarterbacks. It used to be the Jets and then Cleveland and then Carolina, but they've kind of jumped up. So I'm kind of away from that. I mentioned that I like Aaron Jones. I don't mind the opposite side of this game in Kyler Murray. He's going to be a super cheap stack option. Hollywood is out. Greg Dortch has got a questionable tag, so you're probably going to stack him with Trey McBride and or Rondale Moore or Michael Wilson, who Michael Wilson was back for the first time last week. 3 targets, no catches. I'm staying away from Sam Howell. going up against the Jets is bad enough. But when you've got Jacoby Brissett waiting in the wings, so if the Jets end up coming out to a 7-0 lead going into halftime, I could really see them benching Howell, and then it becoming a game with Jacoby Brissett coming in there. Baker Mayfield, he was the guy who I initially just kind of plugged in there. Like I said, I didn't want to chase his game, but man, I mean, 6K, the guy's just been getting it done. Huge week last week, 33 points last week. That was kind of his stealing game. I mean, he hasn't done it. He hasn't gone above 30 points all year. Last week was the first week. So, I mean, if you kind of look here, and this is where it kind of gets you off of it a little bit, is, the last 5 games, even 6 games, 7 games, 8 games. I mean, yeah, he had, 17, 21, 19, but then a 12, 15, 10, and then a 20 and a 33. I just like matchup. But keep scrolling down here. Gardner Minshew against Atlanta. Atlanta's defense has been pretty good, but Gardner Minshew's shown that he can get it done. I mean, they tore up the Steelers last week, so I mean, defense, the matchup really doesn't scare me. Geno Smith should be back this week against the pass funnel defense and the Tennessee Titans. They need a win just as much as some of these other teams. They're right on the outside. They need a little bit of help, but they're on the outside looking for the 3rd playoff spot. Joe Flacco's been tearing it up in Cleveland. I don't mind this play, specifically for the fact that he's 5,500. He was 5,500 last week. He threw for almost 400 yards last week. And Houston's defense isn't much better than the Bears. So I don't mind that at all. Super cheap to stack. You could stack him with David Njoku, who finally got a price bump. Either that or Elijah Moore, even Amari Cooper. But with Houston not having CJ Stroud, going up against Cleveland's defense, that's who I had plugged in originally, was Cleveland's D. So if Trevor Lawrence does end up playing, I already know CJ Stroud's out. I'm just going to bump right up to Cleveland's defense. It's a plus matchup for them. Nick Mullins, he's got all the weapons back right now. Justin Jefferson is the highest owned wide receiver on the slate just because of his price point. I mean, the guy's, he's been below 9K all year long, except for maybe at the beginning of the season. Yeah, 8,800, then 92, 93, 96, 94, and then completely and totally gone for those 7 weeks, and then he comes back. He gets hurt. He gets hurt in the Raiders game, and then comes out last week, has 10 targets at 8,100. His price didn't change. I mean, he's almost a plug and play for me here at 8,100. Like I said, they're going to be coming out to win. His defense doesn't really scare me. But Nick Mullins at that price point, at that 5,300, I mean, super easy to stack him with Jefferson and Essen, who he seems to like a lot. After that, I really don't like anybody. I'm good on Will Levis, Drew Lock. He won't start with Geno being back. Beathard against Tampa Bay. He's just, he came in relief, if I'm not mistaken, last week. 9 for 10, 63 yards, rushed 1 time for 7. So, I mean, if he's got a full week of practice, maybe, but I think I'm going to stay away from that. I think that's the lowest I'm willing to go. I don't really like anybody else down there. So, if we were going to start it off, let's get back to Baker Mayfield. I like the matchup for Baker Mayfield. We can stack him with the defense, and then we'll look from here. Like I said, the positions here are pretty cheap this week. Rachaad White leads the pack at 7,400. Jacksonville's been pretty decent against the run, but what doesn't scare me about that is the fact that Rachaad White is involved in the passing game a ton. He's out there all the time. He gets targets when they're down. Last week they really didn't need it. They didn't really need to pass to him at all, just because they were kind of in charge of that game the whole time. But he had 2 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. And then last week was the same, or the week before that, he had 2 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown. He's caught 1, 2, 3. He's got 4 or 3 receiving touchdowns on the year. So I know that Baker Mayfield's not afraid to dump it off to him, and that's what they seem to use him with a lot. So I do like Rachaad White still this week. The Jacksonville matchup's not going to scare me. Getting down to Raheem Mostert, I don't mind him or Achane. Mostert's kind of getting the bulk of the carries. He is a little bit less involved than Achane in the passing game, but I mean, if the Cowboys don't figure it out, Mostert and Achane could both be in line for huge games. But like I said, I like us to figure it out and make Tua beat him through the air, which is definitely possible too. With it sounds like Tyreek Hill's going to be back, so he's got the weapons to do it. Jonathan Taylor coming back off an injury. It looks like he might bring a brace on his hand, but Zach Moss is out, so he's going to get all the touches. And that's the way it was. When he kind of came back, he was kind of splitting, and then he really kind of busted on the scene. And before he got hurt, he was doing big things. So Jonathan coming back, I like that play. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. I like Gibbs a little bit more than I like Montgomery. I mean, there's only $100 price difference, but Gibbs gets all the passing work. 2 targets last week, 11 carries for 100 yards. Montgomery, he had 3 targets. So, I mean, they're really pretty evenly split. Montgomery's getting a little bit more work on the ground too. So who knows? Derrick Henry, even in a good matchup, you really need the touchdowns from Henry at this point. And they're just, they've really involved Tajay Spears. So I'm kind of staying away from Henry at this price point. Pollard they just don't involve Pollard, which is kind of disgusting. They gave this guy the lead back role, and then they don't use him. Then we can't get the running game going, or we can't get the passing game going. He's not involved. So I'm staying away from Pollard altogether. Ian against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's defense has been really good against the run, so I'm staying away from there. Just reading Zach Moss here. Like I said, this is another report where he hasn't practiced all week with a forearm injury. I don't know if these guys that I have something on him that I don't, but they're saying that he's not playing. But even if he does play, probably in a limited fashion, I think this is where I'm going to live this week, is in the mid 6s range. I like Aaron Jones. I like Bijan Robinson. I don't like Kenny Walker going up against Tennessee's good defense. They're good against the run. Walker's been pretty quiet lately. Last week he had a decent game. He had a touchdown. I didn't really get a chance to watch that game. We're on vacation, but looked like he had a decent game against a pretty good defense on the ground anyway. So maybe Kenneth Walker's worth a look if the Q-tag kind of goes away. Breece Hall burned us last week, but I don't mind Breece Hall. Same thing with James Conner. James Conner just gets the work, man. And if they're going to have a lot of their offensive weapons out in the air, he was kind of tearing up the 49ers to start the game. 14 rushes, 86 yards, 1 touchdown. He's getting targets. He had 3 receptions on 3 targets. He only got 3 yards. But, if he's going to be that involved, I don't mind James Conner. I think I'm going to go ahead and just plug James Conner in here for the time being. Chuba Hubbard, another guy. I mean, Green Bay can get beat on the ground. They've shown it all year long. Chuba Hubbard he's the guy. Miles Sanders has been relegated to nothing. 25 carries, 23 carries, 22 carries in the last 3 weeks. And then he's getting targets as well. So, I mean, Chuba Hubbard's involved. I like the matchup. Another guy who's I don't believe this. I don't believe Detroit's been the number 1 rush defense. But Ty Chandler going up against Detroit, he's getting lead back carries, 23 rushes, 132 yards, just super explosive. He's getting all the targets. I mean, you almost plug him in too, just for the sake of it. I mean, between him, Devin Singletary, he kind of took over the lead role from Damian Pierce. Same thing, 26 rushes, 120 yards, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 49 yards. I mean, if you're going off your volume alone, I think this is where you need to be at. I hate the matchups. Give me wrong. Cleveland's defense has been good. Detroit's been a little bit suspect, like I said. But, I mean, if they're going to both get 20-plus carries, you almost have to just plug those guys in. Same thing with Chuba Hubbard, James Conner. I mean, they're just the workhorses. Jerome Ford, I don't mind Jerome Ford. Alexander Madison has just kind of been relegated to nothing. Antonio Gibson really didn't increase his role at all last week. everybody thought he was going to be the guy with Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson's out again, but only 4 rushing attempts, five targets, 5 receptions for 20 yards, no touchdowns. I think all the carries went to Rodriguez. So I mean, he had 10 carries for 35 yards, so he really didn't do a whole lot. So I maybe they get Antonio Gibson a little bit more involved. Charbonnet's worth a look if Kenny Walker's ends in more than what it is. And AJ Dillon, I mean, I'm good. I'll stay away from AJ Dillon. He hasn't done it even when he's been in charge. So, but I think Antonio Gibson at 5,200 is probably the lowest I'm willing to go this week. There's really nobody else that kind of jumps off the page at me. So I think that's kind of where we're going to start here. Baker Mayfield, Devin Singletary, Ty Chandler. That's kind of the start. Buccaneers defense. We'll get into the wide receivers here right after this next commercial break from Route 96.
For Fantasy's Sake has teamed up with Route 96 Boutique to raise a little more cash for Toys for Tots this season. From September 10th until the end of November, 10% of all purchases made with Route 96 on Sundays will be donated to us for our Toys for Tots drive. At Route 96, they believe in girl power. They want a place that people of all shapes and sizes can shop and feel empowered and beautiful. They want you to be the best you possible, and they are committed to bringing you different styles while also providing some basics to express the true you. You can find them on Facebook and at route96boutique.com.
All right, Route 96. Check them out. All right, let's roll into wide receivers here. Tyreek Hill, like I said, looks like he's coming back this week. Guy's matchup proof. I really, really don't think that there's going to be anything that hinders him from, having a big game. See him on the other side of it. It's kind of CeeDee Lamb or bust right now for the Cowboys. The dude's just getting double-digit targets almost every week. I mean, he had the 2 with 9, but he's the guy. He's who they look at. He had the 1 rushing touchdown for the Cowboys last week, 10 targets, 7 receptions, 50 yards. I mean, I expected him a huge game last week, and he just didn't. And I kind of expect the same thing. So I find CeeDee Lamb here. Amon-Ra St. Brown in what I think should be a competitive game. 8,200, pretty cheap. Same thing. He's kind of a target hog here. He gets a lot of targets between him and Laporta. That's kind of where they go. 7 catches off 9 targets, 112 yards and a touchdown this week, 7.2 points. Justin Jefferson, this is where we kind of were the other side of that game here. 10, he only had 3 targets here because he got hurt. And he had 10 targets last week for 84 yards. But I think as he continues to go on and as him and Mullins kind of get that rapport going, I think Jefferson's kind of a plug and play here this week. Jalen Waddle, he filled in nicely. I did not expect Jalen Waddle to come in and do what he did last week. 8 receptions off 9 targets, 140 yards and a long touchdown. Like I said, the Dolphins really just kind of came out and just spanked the Jets. So I'm kind of interested to see where he's got to stay involved. The Cowboys are going to have a rough time trying to cover both these guys. Mike Evans is kind of my preferred pairing with Baker Mayfield. 2 weeks ago, only 1.8 points. Last week, it was a Chris Godwin show, but he still had 15.7 points. He had down. He's a big body target in the red zone. So I do like Mike Evans. So if I'm going to start Baker Mayfield, I'm probably going to automatically plug in Mike Evans. It just hurts your salary, and that's where we're going to have to be a little mindful here. Michael Pittman, it looks like he's good to go. He limited practice on Friday. He's still dealing with a shoulder issue. Just double check if he's out. I don't mind going to Josh Downs or Alec Pierce. DJ Moore is a different animal with Justin Fields throwing the ball. He should be able to do whatever he wants here against the Cardinals defense. He's the guy going to get digit targets most weeks for this team, especially when Fields is out there. So I don't mind him at this price point. We can plug him in. I mean, we can honestly just get Justin for right now, just to give us a little salary, because otherwise our salary is going to be just completely and totally gone. Staying away from Nico Collins in this match, especially with CJ Stroud being out. I don't mind DK Metcalf or really any of the Seattle Seahawks wide receivers going up against Tennessee. Tennessee's a pass funnel defense. Metcalf has been kind of the guy. He, doesn't get a ton of. I mean, he gets a ton of volume some weeks, and then other weeks he doesn't. It's been a lot more consistent lately. He had a 40-point game against the Cowboys, and then 13 and 12. He's got a low floor, but his ceiling is there. And like I said, Seattle's kind of fighting for a playoff spot. So, and Geno Smith being back, I think maybe Drew Lock just had a little bit more rapport with Smith and Jigba, and maybe that's why Metcalf has kind of been hurting the last couple of weeks. Amari Cooper going up against Houston. I don't know if this game stays super competitive, but Cooper's kind of been wrecked. Joe Flacco's just been on a tear, and Amari Cooper's been a huge benefactor. Him and David Njoku. Calvin was somebody that I loved, but if Trevor Lawrence is out, I'm kind of staying away from that game, just from Jacksonville's offense anyway. Chris Godwin, I don't know if I like chasing his game from last week, 28.5 points. I mean, he had 10 receptions for 155 yards, and, he still only outscored Mike Evans by 13 points. The price is super low. That's the only good thing. But he's been consistent with like a 9, floor of 3. He just hasn't, he's had a few pop games this year, but it just hasn't been his year like it has in years past. So I think, like I said, if I'm going to stack Mayfield, stack Evans. DeAndre Hopkins burned us last week, but you can't be scared to go back to him. He had 9 targets and just only caught 2. 9 targets, caught 2 of them. That just shows that, Will Levis is just not getting it there to him, because Hopkins usually didn't drop balls. Jordan Addison, he had the big game last week, caught all 6 of his targets for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. Huge week for him. But he's going to have more opportunities with Jefferson back on the field. So if they kind of try to shut down Jefferson, look to Addison again this week. Thielen has just kind of been, he started off hot, been terrible lately. Garrett Wilson, he's a target monster when Zach Wilson's in there. Zach Wilson's not playing this week, so I'm staying away from Garrett Wilson. Terry McLaurin going up against the Jets defense. We just saw what Jalen Waddle did against the Jets D, but Terry McLaurin is not Jalen Waddle, and the quarterback play just scares me a little bit. I don't mind Tyler Lockett here. Kind of mentioned him. He's kind of been losing snaps to, and not losing snaps, losing targets to Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's kind of fallen off. He's still getting targets. He's still targeted quite a bit. He's just not doing a whole lot. Where Smith and Jigba's really taking advantage of his opportunities and turning them into points. Josh Downs, I like Josh Downs. Michael Pittman is out. Kind of staying away from the Green Bay Packers as a whole. Same thing with Houston as a whole. Don't mind London at 5,100. He's kind of the only receiving weapon that these guys have. He's just, he's got a floor of 1, but he's got a ceiling of 30 to 40 points. So, it's just boom or bust. What guy are you going to get this week? We talked about Marquise Brown being out. It's huge for guys like Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson, and then Rondale Moore. Brandon Cooks has kind of just been the CeeDee Lamb show. He is getting targets. He is the number 2, but man, there's just been nothing doing. Curtis Samuel, I'm staying away from that matchup. Christian Watson's doubtful. Smith and Jigba, I don't mind. Like I said, we kind of talked about him a little bit. He's doing what he can with the targets that he gets. He's kind of outscored or been right around Tyler Lockett as far as production-wise and points. And that's where, Tyler Lockett's, he's $1,100 more, and you're pretty much getting the same results. So I think if I'm going to pay for, if I was going to do anything with Seattle, I think I'm going to pay down or pay all the way up. Staying away from Dotson. Dontavian Wicks, questionable, no thanks. Elijah Moore, I don't mind it if you're stacking with Flacco. Zay Jones, if he, this all depends. Okay. Friday that Jones likely won't be able to suit up on Sunday. So never mind on Zay Jones, but if you go down to Parker, Washington, if Trevor Lawrence does play, I really, really like Parker Washington at $3,800. So if we were going to do that, let's plug in the Browns defense here, which is somebody who I really, really liked. We can pay all the way down to 3,800 for Parker Washington. Because he's going to jump into the number 2 role behind Calvin Ridley, him or Jamal Agnew. But I think Parker Washington's kind of been the guy who's kind of come on, kind of the go for it all guy. This guy's been seeing more targets. It's just, what can you do with him? I don't mind Parker Washington. If you wanted to even say, you know what, I'm just going to go boom or bust, I want Jamal Agnew, you can throw Jamal Agnew in there, save yourself even more money. James Williams, no, like I said, Michael Wilson. If Greg Dortch is out, Michael Wilson and Rondale Moore jump into the number 1 and 2 spot. But that will get me into tight ends here. If Dortch is out alongside Hollywood Brown, I really like one of our tight ends. So we'll jump into tight ends and where we're going to go there right after this message from Ryan Allison Tattoo. Tune in, check him out, like his Facebook page, check out his work.
My name's Ryan Allison. I've spent over a decade immersed in the art of tattooing. Sharply honing my skills has materialized into a diverse and prestigious body of work. Each tattoo reflects my relentless pursuit of excellence, and every client I work with is a living embodiment of that unwavering commitment. I will gladly and wholeheartedly embrace your distinct vision.
Ryan Allison Tattoo at Why Not Studios in Davenport. Check him out. Like his Facebook page. Follow him. Send him a message. If you're still looking for those Christmas gifts, hit him up. Tattoos are nice. All right, jumping into the last couple positions here. So we have a weird lineup going right now. I think we kind of shifted a little bit. But going into the tight end spot, Sam Laporta. He's kind of been the number 2 guy on this team. I mean, he's been doing it for a while, and I think he's kind of jumped into that number 1 tight end role for the season. You could throw in Kittle, you could throw in Hawkinson, even in Njoku. I mean, even Trey McBride. You could throw top 5. Honestly, right now this season, I don't think Travis Kelce has been even in the top 5 of tight ends. So I'm kind of glad not to have to worry about trying to decide whether or not he's going to have a good game or not this week. So I don't mind Sam Laporta. I don't mind Hawkinson on the other side. I like Laporta a little bit more just because he's involved a lot more, where TJ Hawkinson, I think he's going to start to see a little decrease with Jefferson being back, with Ty Chandler kind of coming out and showing out, and with Jordan Addison really taking over. Right here where I'm living, Trey McBride, especially if Hollywood Brown already out. If Greg Dortch is out, I think Trey McBride just sees that many more targets. I mean, the dude is just getting peppered. 102 yards on receptions last week, no touchdowns, and that's where David Njoku was he was the better play last week. I'm glad I was on him. He's had back-to-back almost 30-point weeks, and this week probably isn't any different. Sandwich in between that, Evan Ingram. I don't mind Evan Ingram, but I really think that Trevor Lawrence needs to play. That's just me. 6 targets, 4 catches, only 28 yards. I mean, he's doing it some weeks, and some weeks he's not. I mean, I think the other 2 tight ends are just a little bit there. I mean, Njoku runs like a wide receiver. I mean, he's picking up yards. We looked at, it's just the touchdown equity here for Ingram for me. But honestly, if you look, he's only caught 3 touchdowns all year, and they've been in the last 3 weeks. So where I believe that Njoku's targeted a lot more. He's got 3 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. That he's caught. He's got 5 touchdowns on the season. McBride, kind of the same boat. He's only got 2 touchdowns on the season. He's just doing it with the volume. So I don't know. Those 3 guys are kind of where I'm living at, though. Jake Ferguson, I don't mind. He's kind of he's been Dak's security blanket. He's got 5 touchdowns on the season. He's targeted a lot in the red zone. Dalton Schultz, I'm staying away from that matchup. Cole Kmet, I don't mind Cole Kmet. He's limited in practice. I don't mind him in a Justin Fields stack, but I think I'm going to go to DJ Moore probably. We won't talk about Kyle Pitts. Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave's on the IR, so I don't mind Tucker Kraft. Logan Thomas, I kind of talked about him last week, but I mean, I don't know. He's really kind of fallen off. He had that one season where he was just awesome, and he's just been terrible since. Cade Otton, he's getting targets. He's on the field for a lot, but he's kind of just been relegated to blocking. I mean, because Rashad White doing all the work. Tyler Conklin, I like him when Zach Wilson's out there. 7 targets last week, 4 receptions, 18 yards. He's not doing it when Zach Wilson's not in there. So I'm kind of staying away from him. Chigo Okonkwo, practiced fully Wednesday and Thursday, sat out today with an illness. We were kind of all over him with his 2,900 price tag last week. He had 6.6 points, which is 2x the salary, which is solid for 2,900. He only got a $200 price increase. I like the matchup for him, but I think that's probably about as low as I'm going. I don't really like anybody else or any of their matchups this week. So we'll have to see what happens here. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm probably going to just jump right back on board. I mean, I don't mind stacking like David Njoku with the Browns defense and just to save a little bit of salary. So that would leave us $6,300 in the flex, which lets you get to Bijan Robinson, who I really like, or even Breece Hall, which I really like, or you could even bring it back in that game and Calvin Ridley. So if you're kind of building the stack, you'll Baker Mayfield, throw in a Mike Evans with Calvin Ridley, but that means you have Jamal Agnew in there as well, and I don't really like that. Just because I usually only stack when I have quarterbacks. I'll stack 2 with a quarterback, but I'm not going to stack 2 from the opposite side of the game. There's a few ways you can go. Now you can get rid of Calvin Ridley here. You can look at go back to the wide receiver position, and you could say since we're not using anybody from Arizona yet, you could say, okay, if Greg Dortch plays, you could go with Greg Dortch. Return to practice Friday, limited after missing 2 sessions. So I don't mind Greg Dortch. And Kyler Murray's thrown to him quite a bit. So that leaves you 5,700 to flex. I mean, it puts you right in this range again. Right off the bat, somebody I really like is Chuba Hubbard. Just based off of just sheer volume. So now if you look at it, you're looking at Devin Singletary with 26 carries last week, Ty Chandler, 23 carries last week, and then Chuba Hubbard, if I'm not mistaken, 22 carries last week. You're talking about 3 guys that are getting all the volume. Yeah. Does the matchup suck? Absolutely. But the volume is there. And, and if they're down, if their team's down, they're going to be involved in the passing game too. So I don't mind those plays at all. It gives you Baker Mayfield, 2 Mike Evans. I don't think you really need to bring back, but you got, 20 plus touches, 20 plus touches, 20 plus touches. David Njoku has just been having the last few games of his life. And if Joe Flacco continues going up against a pretty bad Houston defense, I don't mind that at all. And then you've got Greg Dortch, who, if he's questionable, you could even go as far as saying, if he's questionable, you have easy pivots. I think Michael Wilson is serviceable there. And that kind of leaves you $300 where you can kind of plug and play if you wanted to. I kind of really like that I like that Chuba Hubbard play. You could even get to Jordan Addison, which I don't mind that either. You got to think that when playing these, you're locked in with volume most likely with Hubbard, but the ceiling is there with Addison. And I mean, even in the middle, I mean, James Conner is not somebody that I don't mind. I think I'm going to stick with Hubbard here. But I mean, honestly, you could turn around and say, if we're going to get a little weird with it, not weird with it, but if we're going to kind of stick to, I mean, we've got some time. We've got about 15 minutes left. So if you're going to go based off of like ownership, so this is where your cash games, your double ups, your 50-50s, your heads, I mean, this is where you should be staying right here. You're going to go with either Justin Fields, Nick Mullins, or Baker Mayfield. Those guys are in the top 5. So if you went Justin Fields, we talked about the guys with the volume who were cheap, and Ty Chandler, Devin Singletary. Defense right now is looking like I said, if is the Buccaneers defense, if Lawrence is out, tight end, you're looking at either David Njoku or I mean, God, they're all pretty lumped in there. David Njoku, Jake Ferguson, Cole Kmet, Trey McBride. It's kind of take your pick. I don't mind either volume that these guys are getting. But if you're going to do some Fields, you could do a stack, or not a stack, but you could do a bring back with Trey McBride, which I don't mind. We'll start off with DJ Moore. So Justin Fields to DJ Moore. These guys both got 20 touches last week. You're bringing it back with Trey McBride. You got a cheap defense at $2,600 bucks. So now you're trying to fill out these wide receiver positions. Let's see here. Wide receiver. Who are guys we were kind of talking about? Like, I don't mind Jordan Addison. I'm just trying to think if there's somebody. Let's start with somebody cheap. We're going to go somebody cheap. You could almost, like, I guess I don't want somebody against my defense. I don't want to, I mean, I guess you could do that way. It's just a little tough. All right, let's just see if we can't plug in somebody here from the top. Got Trey McBride. Like, okay, so if we were going to, I mean, this will be tough to get to Justin Jefferson, but if we went with Justin Jefferson, you almost have to find that guy that's a pay down, which, I mean, is you're almost forced to play like Michael Wilson, which, like I said, I hate playing two guys from the same team when I don't have the quarterback. It bugs me. Not saying those guys both can't have good games, but I dislike it. So, but if you have Michael Wilson, you get rid of Trey McBride, and you could just go to David Njoku again, which I don't mind that. He's in the top 5. Let's leave you with 5,200 at the flex position. Noah Brown, Antonio Gibson. I mean, Antonio Gibson's kind of like your plug and play for that one. Just kind of trying to think of if you could get rid of Justin Jefferson, go to the flex, and if you wanted to play another running back, said, you know what, I'm going to play another running back. You almost get almost say, hey, James Conner, but like I said, I don't like the two players from up there from one team. I don't have the quarterback. I mean, you go Breece Hall. Go Brian Robinson, Chuba Hubbard. If you went with Chuba Hubbard, that leaves you 7,600 at the wide receiver position. Go with a Mike Evans. I don't mind Mike Evans. That's kind of so you've got Justin Fields to DJ Moore, bringing it back with Michael Wilson. You've got a little mini stack here with Mike Evans in the Bucs defense. You got 20 plus touches, 20 plus touches, 20 plus touches last week. And then David Njoku, who's just been getting targets. He's in the top 5 of ownership on tight ends. So, this is, I don't mind. I'm going to go ahead and update that entry. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for this week, guys. Stop screen share here. So like I said, this isn't going to post until Sunday, right before the games. There's probably going to be some news that's going to be coming out and riding along, and we'll play it by ear. We'll go from there, and we can adjust. I mean, we've got plenty of options to adjust. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in with me every week. Thanks for your support. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everything that everybody does for me. And then we probably won't have a live show until after the new year. So to everybody out there, have a safe, happy holiday. Enjoy it with your family, and make sure, especially on New Year's, you're not out there. Give up the keys if you're going to be out partying. Call a cab, whatever you do. But that's going to do it for me. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with a live show. The articles will continue to come out. Enjoy your 2-game slate tomorrow. Enjoy your Christmas Eve 9-game slate, and enjoy the Sunday night game, and then enjoy your 3-game Christmas Day slate. I know I will. We'll probably have a Christmas story on, and then I'll have picture-in-picture with the Red Zone or whatever football game is going to be on that week. So with that being said, I'm Jordan Kernan. Thanks for tuning in for Frequency Sake Network, brought to you by Durham Remodeling, Route 96, and Ryan Allison Tattoo. You can find me at jfantasy_sports on X. And have a happy holidays. Thank you.